Every year, from spring until fall, conservation officers in the province are plagued by complaints related to bears. During the summer of 1975, Prince Rupert became the focal point of this problem when the conservation officer there shot 3 bears at the municipal dump, an act that brought widespread public attention to the bear situation. Most of the scenes in this program, with the exception of the shots involving the white Kermode bear, were taken in the Prince Rupert area, as it epitomizes the type of community that runs into problems when it comes to bears. Prince Rupert, like most northern communities, is situated in the middle of dense bush, thus making it ideal bear country. The scarcity of food during the earlier part of the season causes dominant bears to expand their wilderness territory, thus forcing younger, weaker bears who normally wouldn't survive to migrate to dumps. In most communities, bears around the dump are fairly commonplace and don't create problems, while Prince Rupert's dump is so close to the residential area that it makes an excellent jumping-off point for bears to carry out excursions to neighborhood garbage cans. To add to the problem, the Rupert dump is not burned or buried nearly often enough. When the dumps become overcrowded with dominant bears, other bears move into residential areas to prey on garbage cans. This is easier in some communities than in others, depending on how the land has been developed. In Prince Rupert, for example, there are 3 heavily wooded gullies that start in the surrounding forests and penetrate right into the downtown area. Where these gullies intersect busy streets, they are spanned by overpasses, therefore making them ideal bear highways. Once a bear enters a populated area, he finds no shortage of food thanks to overflowing garbage cans that provide the bear with his horn of plenty. Part of the problem is that a number of municipalities only collect garbage once a week, not nearly enough for the summer months. It's no revelation to most people to learn that garbage decays faster during the summer months, but it should be noted that the smell of rotten garbage is as enticing to a bear as the aroma of a good steak is to most humans. The greatest part of the problem, however, is that the garbage is too readily available to the enterprising bears. Certain areas of the community don't have to worry about where they put their garbage. Other areas, though, have to take special precautions with their refuge if they don't wish to have an unexpected visit from a furry friend. These areas, obviously, are the neighborhoods that lie adjacent to thick bush, and, not surprisingly, these are the places where the conservation officer finds most complaints originate. A quick look at these areas reveals why. What it boils down to, basically, is that the situation is not so much a bear problem, but can be more properly labeled a people problem. Bears in their natural habitat are scavengers and in the process of eating clean up the woods. Bears are also opportunists, and the easier to get the available food is, the better. Most bear complaints that a conservation officer receives could be easily solved if people would keep their garbage wrapped in plastic bags or locked up in a place where it would be inaccessible to a bear. Leaving the garbage sitting openly in the backyard and complaining when a bear makes a meal of it is akin to leaving your car unlocked with the keys in it and then complaining when it's stolen. A little common sense remedies both situations. Just because a bear is sighted is no reason to call the conservation officer. Causing a commotion will scare the bear away a good percentage of the time, then the garbage can be removed or stored properly so that a return visit won't occur. Even when the conservation officer is called to answer a bear complaint, it's usually a futile effort because by the time he arrives, the bear is long gone. If the bear is still there when he arrives, the only option open to him is to shoot the bear, a dangerous proposition in a heavily populated area and one that most people find repulsive. There are 3 avenues of action open to a conservation officer when a bear becomes a nuisance, and all 3 methods have their drawbacks. The first is the use of the leg snare. This is a relatively uncomplicated piece of machinery that can't harm people should they stumble into it. The operation is simple. A hole is dug about 8 to 12 inches deep, bait is placed in it, the trap is activated, and the snare covered in leaves and dirt. When a bear reaches in for the bait, he trips the lever, pulling the snare tight around his leg. The snare is similar to a slip knot, so that the harder the bear struggles to get away, the tighter the snare becomes. From this point on, the snare presents a danger. If any person, especially a child, were to stumble on a bear that's been caught by a leg snare, the bear, needless to say, won't likely be in a friendly mood, and the consequences could be fatal. Once a bear is captured in the leg snare, about the only thing a conservation officer can do with the bear is to shoot it. Using the leg snare in conjunction with a tranquilizer gun could avoid the destruction of the bear, but involves insurmountable problems that will be discussed later. Another alternative the conservation officer can pursue, and one that has been requested by many as a substitute to shooting, is the bear trap. The bear traps presently available in this area are unsafe as they lack safety doors that are included in later models of the device. These safety doors are presently being considered for traps in this region, but until they are installed, the setting of the bear trap requires constant surveillance to see that no one, especially children, comes near it. The reason for this precaution is the heavy metal door that slams down when the trap is sprung. The weight of the door could seriously injure or even kill a human being. Disregarding these problems for the moment, suppose the trap is successful in catching the bear. Does this solve the problem? Generally speaking, no. Once a bear is captured and taken miles away to be set free in the wilderness, the chances of the bear returning are extremely good, if not to the exact spot he was in before, then to a similar dump or garbage situation. Also, when the bear is turned out into the wilderness, more than likely he's in another bear's territory and will be killed anyway. The final method that the conservation officer can pursue is one that most people feel is a miracle cure, the magic weapon that will make the so-called bear problem disappear. This is, of course, the tranquilizer gun. Well, it works fine in Walt Disney, but in real life the disadvantages are immense. The most immediate problem is that there is no one presently in this district who is legally qualified to use this complicated weapon. When a qualified user is called to the scene of a bear sighting, it can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to load the tranquilizer dart properly. The amount of drug used in the dart depends on the size of the bear, and this amount is crucial. Too little drug and you have an angry, injured, half-drugged bear. Too much drug and you have a dead bear. The solution to this problem would be to use the tranquilizer gun in conjunction with the leg snare. The problem here is that leg snares usually have to be set in deep wooded gullies or equally out of the way spots, and thus would be inaccessible to a vehicle, which would be required to transport the animal out. Also required in this operation would be a small army of strong men to lift a questionably drugged bear into a bear trap. Once a bear is drugged and taken into the wilderness, the same problems associated with the bear trap present themselves again, these being the high possibility of the bear returning or being killed in another bear's territory. One of the most frightening disadvantages of the tranquilizer gun is the danger of the lost dart. If a child or even a full-grown adult were pricked by one of these darts that had inadvertently been lost, the amount of drug within could kill a human being without any trouble. Children present a special problem when it comes to bears. Due to various TV programs like Gentle Ben, as well as cartoon characters such as Yogi Bear, children sometimes have the mistaken idea that bears are cute and harmless. Parents should make a special point to tell their children otherwise. Bears can be extremely unpredictable and in some situations terribly dangerous. Most playgrounds and tot parks border dense bush, and neighborhood paths and shortcuts used by children are also used by bears. A well-publicized incident involving children chasing a bear in a playground directly led to the shooting of 3 bears at the Prince Rupert Municipal Dump. In the final analysis, the bear situation is not going to be solved by shooting, bear traps, leg snares, or tranquilizer guns. The solution must come from public awareness of what is causing bears to enter residential areas and how to remedy the situation. Existing, as many of our towns do, in the middle of the woods, we must get used to the idea that bears will always be around, and the fact that a bear is spotted is no reason for concern. If a bear is causing property damage or acting aggressively towards people, then the bear should be dealt with accordingly. As it is, people should make an effort to coexist with these creatures, who, after all, were here first. The difficulties experienced in Prince Rupert are not peculiar to that city, but are fairly commonplace throughout the province and occur in some form or another in a large number of communities. Shooting bears is especially unpopular with conservation officers, but at the moment, if the public demands action, this is the only effective kind that he can dispense, and the positive effects are temporary at best. The problem is a human one, and the sooner the public realizes this, the better for all concerned, especially the bears.